And so, but I think we should all start on a positive note. I'd love each of you to tell us what's one positive change that has come out of these last 6 months. And Shivani, since I'm using your QB elliptical right now, why don't we start with you?
Of course. Hi, everybody. Really nice to be here. I think for me personally, of course, there's been lots of changes with the company, but just on a personal note, just interacting with people online and remotely was really hard, right? Like for most of us, I feel like interacting with everybody on Zoom, I actually forgot how to make eye contact, I realized, when I started meeting people in person. I don't know if everybody else is going through this, but it was just a very weird shift. And I think I've realized that one of the positive things out of this is that every interaction that I do have physically with people now is just so much more intentional. I find myself being more compassionate, and I feel that I'm more present. And that's something that I've noticed across the board in our team members, in those micro interactions that you have with somebody in the elevator or somebody on the street. And that's been just one really big positive change that I've noticed in the last 6 months.
Awesome. Shivani, and that's fantastic. And a lot of that, a lot of this is we're undergoing business change, but personal change at the same time. Brad, I know that you have had a renewed focus on your children and on fitness and on health and well-being, among other things. But why don't you share with us some of the positive changes that you've embarked on in these last 6 or 7 months?
Absolutely. I mean, I call this the Great Pause. There was the Great Depression. I call this the Great Pause. We've all had a moment. We were grinding and working so hard and running so fast pre-COVID. And this has been such an unbelievable moment in time we can just take a step back and reflect. I've had the pleasure of spending more time with my kids during COVID. I have 4 children, 6 and under, and going to the beach, going to the park, all that good stuff. I've spent more time with them during COVID than I think I have pre-COVID, right? In total. I've also picked up some new hobbies. I was an indoor cat working, cycling on a Peloton, and some friends pushed me to outside and get a bike, and all of a sudden here I am. I'm an outdoor cat now, and so. But I've also raised money for charity through cycling and some other really fun things. I've met a lot of great people that I never would have done any of it had this not have hit. So a lot of goodness has come from this.
Awesome, thanks, Brad. Katie, you're in an RV right now.
I sure am.
And that's not the typical place that a CEO or founder of a company in the tech space operates from. But tell us what positive changes you've embarked on in these last 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, working remotely has been a dream. For those tuning in today, if you couldn't tell by my accent, I'm not from Chicago, I'm from Scotland, but I've lived in Chicago for about 13 years, and it's been a massive personal goal of mine to see more of America, right, and to travel more around America. And it's interesting because Brad and I had a conversation earlier about how the pandemic has almost been like a forcing function to do the things that you really want to do, right? Whether that's move your house, or start a new hobby, or learn how to cook and things like that. And so for me, that's kind of exactly what I've done, right? Like the pandemic hit. Our corporate office obviously closed. No one was there. And so me, Craig, my husband, and our dog, we flew to Florida, lived on a sailboat for about 3 months. And about a month and a half ago, bought ourselves a cool little Winnebago van. And right now I'm like in the middle of the Asheville mountains in North.
All right, we're losing Katie a little bit here.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
You can probably tell from the way that I'm talking, but it's like, it has been massively beneficial to my mental health. It's boosted creativity, being out here in the mountains and just traveling around. And simply put, I'm loving the flexibility, and I'm loving the freedom of being able to live and work remotely. So that to me has been a massive positive change in my life.
Awesome. We all wish we were you right now in an RV in North Carolina. Rick, let's go to you. You're running a big company, 2,600 employees. So sometimes it's tough to separate. I know from having run a large company as well, it's tough to separate personal from business at times. But walk us through, and then I'm gonna come right back to you and ask you about business. Walk us through positive changes personally for you? And then I'm going to come back to you and ask you a question related to LK as well.
Sure. So on the personal level, similar to what's been said, I think we've seen sort of a simplification of our lives in a way. When you take away maybe going to an office every day, you take away going to airports, you take away some of the conventions and things that we spend so much of our time on, you find, first of all, you can be pretty productive from a personal standpoint, but the amount of time with family, with exercise, with just kind of reminding ourselves what's really important in our lives, to me has been really special. And the other thing is, as this has drawn on, and from a personal level, you've had so much separation from others, as you just start to maybe go to that restaurant with one other couple, or maybe you have that relatively small family gathering, you just realize that's really precious time. And so I find myself appreciating it more than maybe I would have previously.